With that said, we give you lots of opportunities to work with faculty. If you're interested in developing research skills or you have particular interest in the clinical world, then we give you some opportunities through co-op to get a feel for what it's like in the field of clinical and counseling subspecialties. So that's kind of where we are with what we offer. In addition to that, we just recently added the Veteran Studies program to our arsenal of options in the psychology department. This is headed up by Dr. Travis Martin. And with that, we offer the opportunity for those of you who might be interested in working with veterans at some later point after you get your bachelor's degree, or if you want to go on to pursue graduate degrees and that's an area of interest. So there's lots of opportunities in our psychology clinic. We have a co-op program in the clinic where if you want to work with veterans, any veterans that we have coming in, not just veterans, but also active duty, if you want to work with their families or want to do couples focused stuff, we give you some opportunities to observe and participate with our advanced clinicians down there. And Reagan and Abby can probably address that even more in that they live it day to day and have worked with our co-op students. So that's kind of what I envision in terms of what we can provide for you. If you have any additional questions, you want more specifics on it, I'd be happy to provide that as well. But I'm going to turn it over to Reagan and let him kind of tell you a little bit about what we offer in the clinic.
Thank you, Dr. Motz, and thanks everybody who came out and carved out their personal time to come and watch us today. My name is Reagan OMVA. I'm the clinic coordinator at the EKU Psychology Clinic. Assistant coordinator, it's coming up though. As well as I'm helping out with Gabby's trauma clinic. And what I would say is if you're an undergraduate and you're interested in potentially working with veterans or just working in clinical psychology in general, we have some wonderful opportunities for you to work with us in the clinic and kind of see what the day-to-day is like. See how clinicians work, what kinds of things we're doing, see a little bit of cases, case conceptualization, and really get to pick up a lot of skills that are just wonderful for building your resume. I know that a lot of people who have made it into our program have had that experience before, so I would encourage you to talk with Dr. Botts if that's something you're interested in. On the other side of things, if you're interested in seeking services for yourself, we are moving things to online right now. And maybe Dr. Botts could help fill in some of the details on how we're smoothing that out. But we are going to be able to take clients, if you just want somebody to talk to you right now through telehealth in a format that's not unlike this. Is there anything else you want me to touch on, Dr. Botts?
No, one thing that I didn't mention are the graduate programs we offer through EKU. And one, of course, is the program that has a PsyD. So once you get through your bachelor's degree and you want to pursue a graduate program, that might be an option. We've got IO, Industrial Organizational Psychology. We also offer a master's degree in general psychology. So there's lots of opportunities at EKU and in our psychology department.
That's for sure. And Barbara's office definitely helped open up a lot of opportunities for me as a student veteran. I know I wouldn't have been able to make it to this program in the first place if it wasn't for the hard work of her and her employees. So.
Okay. Gabby, do you want to add anything about our community-based program with the Trauma and Suicide Prevention Clinic and kind of opportunities for students to co-op with you in clinic?
Hi everybody, my name is Gabby. I work with Reagan and I go to school with Reagan in the PsyD program. To add to that, I would say that we do have a lot of opportunities, as they were saying, for co-op students. For the general clinic, I know that there were some students who, when they had a free minute, they would ask me tons of questions about my clients, and it was a great learning opportunity. But also for the trauma clinic, which is what I help coordinate especially, there was one who, I believe it was the fall semester of 2019, who really helped organize a bunch of things, and I was constantly in contact with her about helping to get things going for the trauma clinic. We're still pretty new, so there's a lot of work to do with that. And we do have our two branches with the veteran branch and the community branch as well.
And maybe I should back up a little bit and make sure everybody understands what we're talking about when we refer to co-op. It's a cooperative education. So as you're pursuing your degree at Eastern, most degree programs at Eastern will offer an opportunity to get field experience. So what we're offering through our clinic is for psychology majors, maybe veteran studies majors, if you're a social work major, we offer an opportunity for you to come in and get firsthand knowledge about how the clinic basically works. So you don't actually get to see clients and do therapy, but you can, with permission, sometimes you can set in or observe those sessions, or at least kind of be kept in the loop about the process and how it works in terms of seeing clients. It's a good field experience.
Yeah, the experience is definitely invaluable. Really haven't had anybody walk away from it saying, wow, I wish I didn't do that. Everybody seemed to be really pleased and definitely expanding their resume in a meaningful way. So can't encourage it enough.
Do you want me to talk a little bit now about our Military and Veterans Affairs Office and kind of what we do and a little bit of our background? Sarah, will that work? Okay, great. Okay, I'm Barbara Kent. I'm the director of EKU's Military and Veterans Affairs. And just before we begin, I know Reagan has served. Has anyone else served in the military or have a military connection?
Yes. Stephen McAdoo.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey.
I think I don't see your.
Nah, I don't think my picture's showing up.
Okay. Okay. Nice to meet you. Are you all psychology majors?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Well, you've probably come through our office or had some dealings with our office.
Yes.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Well, for those who aren't aware, our office provides services and support. You might be surprised to know that we have nearly 1,200 veteran and military connected students here at EKU. And we have historically been known as a top school for veterans, in part based on the types of programs that EKU offers, but as well our delivery of services. We certify for GI Bill entitlement. We provide academic advising. We're kind of a one-stop shop. We have a vocational rehab counselor on campus, and we exist to serve our students. And part of the reason that we rank so high is we try to create that sort of supportive network and community that our veteran students and military students experience while they're actually on active duty. And we actually have a pretty significant population that are active duty. Most of those are online students. Stephen, are you an online student or resident?
I've been coming in class,
Okay.
resident.
So, and we actually, just to share some news, hopefully for resident students when we are back on campus, and we will be back on campus someday, we're moving, OMVA is moving to the Powell Student Center. Yeah, Stephen, did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, we're, and so I would encourage all of you who are just interested in the veterans students here at EKU, if you follow us on our Facebook page, which is EKU OMVA, we're going to be kind of keeping people up to date with regard to that move. But when we come back to campus, we'll be in the Powell Student Center, so we're pretty excited about that. So our office provides services. We also collaborate with a lot of areas on campus, like with Dr. Botts and Reagan and their team, as well as our counseling center on campus, as well as the Department of Veterans Affairs, the VA, the Veterans Coalition, 6th District Coalition, just sort of any the organizations that are focused on veterans and issues that affect veterans. We also work with Dr. Martin, is a big supporter of our program, as well as we're a big supporter of his. I would encourage any of you that are interested in working with veterans at all to pursue to check out the programs in the Veteran Studies program. They have certificates, they have the minor. I actually am coming back to school this summer, and I have enrolled in the Veteran Studies program, part of which because I have a little bit more free time, but it's a great program. I'm a veteran, I'm an Army veteran. I served from 82 to 91, but there's a lot for me to learn as well. I mean, and that's just in general, we all keep learning, but we're also in the process of developing a military cultural awareness training that, Sarah, if your students would be interested in, I'd love to come back and present sometime. I would also encourage anyone who's just interested. There's a wonderful website. It's called psycharmor.org. And Sarah, I'll send you the link. But there's modules. It's a nonprofit. You can register and take these modules for free. They're really good. In fact, we're going to incorporate some of them into our training. But there's one in particular called 15 Things Veterans Want You to Know, and I'll send you that link. And if I could, I would show it right now. It's about 14 minutes, but it's a really, really well done video, and I'd want Stephen and Reagan to weigh in on that. That kind of gives the general public kind of it's a broad overview, but it's really effective in terms of the takeaways, the 15 takeaways. So with that said, and like I said, watch this space as we move our physical location. We're looking at, having more programming. But I would encourage everyone to follow us on our Facebook page. And I didn't mention this, I was going to, and I realize this is a lot of information. But we've also, and Stephen, we've also reestablished our Vets Club on campus.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw an email. We emailed our veteran and military students.
Yes.
But it's open to anyone who is interested in supporting veterans. So I would encourage any of you who are interested in the Vets Club to check that out. If you just, and of course right now we're doing everything online. Same thing, having Zoom meetings. We're also one of only 14 universities in the nation to have a national co-ed veterans fraternity. Stephen, I don't know if you know about that, Omega Delta Sigma.
Okay, nuh-uh.
I can send you some information on that, but that actually, it's our veterans fraternity. So I guess, we have a very rich, I think, culture here for our veteran and our military students. And part of that is, I think the EKU community really supports these students. So.
Okay.
I'll shut up.
How, with everything going on, how is the co-op going to be going at the moment anyways? You understand what I'm saying?
Dr. Butts, you're still on mute.
Okay. With the clinic in particular, we're transitioning to telehealth services. So there's a role for co-op students to play in that transitioning. There's things that we can have you do that would still allow you to get credit. There are outside agencies, particularly those that are still up and running, that can be turned into co-ops. I have one student who's helping with like a food pantry, and does a lot of kind of marketing and contacting people about what services are available there. There's others that are involved in court systems. And I think a lot of the courts now are going on live, for example. So there's ways of, even with all that's going on and, you know, the social distancing stuff, that some placements will still offer co-op opportunities. So we just have to kind of be creative and look around for those. And this isn't just veteran focused, of course. I mean, there's co-ops for various interests that you might have. So if you're more forensic, of course, the court one that I mentioned would be a good placement. If you're more interested in IO kinds of stuff, then there might be something even through EKU's Human Resources Office, various placements. So lots of opportunities still.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So it looks to me that this is a good time to enter in the question, the questions and answer portion of the colloquium. There's a lot of people here, so I would love to hear from all of you. What questions do you have for any of the panelists, or all of them, or maybe several of them can jump in to answer some of your questions. But I know a lot of you may be starting to consider your future, or or haven't been considering for a while. But what opportunities are there at EKU for you? What do you want them to expand on? What type of things that they mentioned maybe briefly you want some clarification, some more detail? In order to talk, all you need to do is to click on the mute button, the bottom left. Just click on it so it's unmute, and then we can hear you. Okay, so go ahead and ask all the questions that you have.
I'll be the first one to talk. My name is Bridget, and I am a forensic psychology major. And I'm curious about the opportunities you guys have. I'm a full-time online student, and so technically I'm a psychology major with a concentration in forensics. Where do you guys think a good place? Can I stay at Eastern for a graduate program? Do you guys have anything that I could do that stems off of my bachelor's degree? Do I need to look into grad schools elsewhere? Where should I go next? I can't hear.
Sorry about that. Does anybody else want to answer that? If not, I'll address it as best I can. Anybody else? Okay, one of the things that I would recommend is getting in contact with one of our clinical faculty whose specialty is forensics, and that's Dr. Dustin Wygant.
Okay.
And Dustin, I'll get you you can get a pen.
Yeah, I'm getting a pen.
Okay.
Okay.
It's Dustin, DUSTIN, dot Wygant, WYGANT, .EKU.edu. He is the person on our clinical faculty that's his specialty areas. For undergraduate students, he actually does a lot of work with undergrad students, taking them to placements. He does a lot of assessments in practice, in which he basically is hired by various attorneys. He's covered some of the major court cases in Kentucky, in fact.
Okay.
He also takes students to, we say that he takes them to jail, and he really does, because he takes you into, for example, the federal medical corrections facility. There's one in Lexington. There's several across Kentucky, but when he has assessments to do, or he needs to go in and do something in the forensic area, he'll often take students with him so they get that firsthand knowledge of what forensics is really all about.
Very cool. Very cool.
Now, as far as a forensic program, a graduate program, the way that we, and I think most programs do, you'll find some programs that are just specific to forensic psychology, but a lot of people that want to go into that specialty area, what they end up doing is going into clinical, and then they make that their specialty area in the clinical.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And so for us, our PsyD program, we've got a number of our PsyD students that are interested in forensics. And again, they do a lot of assessments for the jails. They've gone to numerous places with Dr. Wygant. So it's a really rich experience in terms of giving you firsthand experience with what it really is like to be a forensic psychologist.
Very cool.
So any program that you want to identify, it doesn't just have to be with us, but anywhere you want to look and make sure they have someone with that specialty area that can give you that kind of training.
Awesome. So you think a clinical psychology degree is what I'm looking for after undergrad?
I think that's what most people are pursuing. Again, there are some specialty training programs out there that just specialize in forensics, but more often than not, what you're reaching for is the clinical.
Awesome. Thank you.
Welcome.
I would just say that any opportunity you can take to get out there and shadow a little bit to see what it's really like, especially with Dr. Wygant, he's always happy to bring students. That's just amazing experience. And if it's not for you after checking it out, that's cool too, but at least you'll know. Shadowing is always a good idea. I don't really know anybody who's gone with Dr. Wygant and hasn't loved the experience. So
Fabulous. Thank you.
yeah, good luck.
Okay, I'll go next. So I too am a 100% online student, and my major is criminal justice. One of my minors is psychology, and then I'm also getting my certificate. Well, I'm getting 3 certificates, but one of them is in veteran studies. And I didn't actually realize that was a brand new program. But I come from a long line of military. All my friends and family are military. So what I'd really like to do after I graduate is actually work at EKU. And so can you kind of direct me where all of these things that I'm going to do? I haven't ruled out graduate school, but I love EKU. I love the institution. It's just, I have such a passion for it. So I want to kind of find out where that degree and those certificates would be best suited on campus for you guys.
Well, and let me clarify that we've had the Veteran Studies program since 2011, but it just went through a major curriculum change. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think also being housed under the psychology department just happened this year. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So your degree is in criminal justice.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I have 2 minors, psychology and police studies. And then I'm going to have 3 certificates, and one of them's in the veteran studies.
What are you interested in terms of career-wise? And Reagan and Teresa, you may want to weigh in on this as well.
Well, I think I could be happy doing so many things. I am very interested in kind of the legal side of the criminal justice system, but also I have a spot for veterans. And I mean, I've seen so many close friends and family members struggle, and when they come home, and just different things. And so I want to figure out a way to support that community as well. And even if that includes supporting the veteran students that we have on campus, that would be awesome. But I kind of want to know where those qualities would be best suited, kind of what you would need on campus, where I could fill a need.
Well, I mean, my ideally, I hope, and I don't make this a secret, but I would love to also have a counselor in the counseling center that's a veteran. So you should pursue your graduate degree as a clinical psychologist, right, Teresa and Reagan?
That would be one route.
We're not biased at all, but I think that you should do it.
Something that comes to mind, kind of combining all your interests and giving you kind of that field experience before you make a final decision, would be to connect with the Office of Equity and Inclusion and see if they wouldn't allow you to come on as maybe a co-op, or just to come over and observe some of the stuff they do. And you'd really want to kind of help to let them know that you're fine-tuning it to veterans to some degree. So any kind of, information that they're providing, educational pieces that they go and provide to the campus community or the community at large about veterans and, you know, kind of that side of things, that might be a good shadowing experience for you, or even a full-fledged co-op.
Okay, awesome.
That makes sense, Barbara? Do you think that?
It does. I agree. I agree.
Okay.
You might also think about talking to the Dean of Students, Dr. Billy Martin. That might be a good resource as well. And I mean, we can follow up with you, Ashley. So
Okay.
I'll send an email to you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. So I had some quick I wanted to clarify what psychiatric rehabilitation was as a major. It was something that does interest me, but I have been thinking about entering it, and don't mind all the background noises. I'm at my mom's work, but I just want to really know what it is, and I've been thinking about pursuing it. But I also want to get my clinical degree and go on and get my get my PsyD. So I'm just curious about what routes I should be taking.
Anybody else want to address? Okay. One of the things, of course, it is one of our concentrations, and you've already declared it as a concentration. Is that what you're saying, or are you just thinking about it?
I'm thinking about it. I haven't declared it yet. I'm a general psychology major right now, but I'm a residential student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you think about the rehab world, it's about recovery. It's my understanding, and this isn't a specialty of mine, so bear with me, but it's my understanding that a lot of our students, for example, if you were going to do a co-op, for example, connected to this, you might do it in a rehab setting where you're working under nursing or you're working under voc rehab. It would be working with those populations that have mental health issues connected to it, or has some kind of mental health component to it. So it really would be that recovery side, is my understanding. If anybody else has anything that they can add to it. It's a great area because it opens settings that you can work in when it comes to rehab. I know Cardinal Hill comes to mind. There is, for example, maybe even with head trauma, the head trauma unit doing some work there where they're doing lots of rehab and it's focused on that, or just a psych. There's a pain management clinic connected to that. I know Fraser is another one of those types of settings, or just in general hospital settings where they have those kind of offerings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just didn't know that if pursuing it would be good to lead me to my master's and lead me to getting my PsyD. I don't know if I'm being led down the right path or not, and so I need guidance.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of our concentration make you open to clinical or counseling, even mental health programs. The general psychology degree, and it offers such an arsenal of opportunities to develop skills across the board that basically if you've completed our bachelor's degree, no matter what concentration you had, it's going to prepare you for graduate programs in clinical and counseling and those other kind of social services, mental health fields.
It's killing me. Stats is killing me.
Yeah. Well,
that's normal. That's normal. We
oh
all
my gosh. Stats
I hear y'all.
And then switching from being in class to doing it online is,
oh my god. I'm sitting here trying to figure out how am I gonna fill out this outside credit form with this, and I'm like, what is this, a correlational design or experimental design? I'm very confused. Sending emails to Dr. Mitchell what?
Well, let me clarify that for you. So I do teach stats. I don't think I have you guys in my class. I haven't recognized your name, but so this was in a special you know, like a special opportunity. So basically, these colloquiums are usually hosted on campus every month, and we just host these colloquiums on different topics. You know, this one was more on the clinic and veteran affairs, but like we had different topics for these colloquiums. So these colloquiums are not usually, we do not give people SONA credits for colloquiums. We give like other type of participation and recognition, but not SONA credit. The problem was with the coronavirus, right? We had to cancel all of the in-person laboratory research opportunities that you will have. We have to cancel all of them. So what we had to do was somehow, we didn't want everyone to have to just do papers and papers or posters and posters, right? Like we wanted to offer a few opportunities in which you could just kind of like attend and get credits. That's just this semester only. So this is not a correlational study. This is not a experimental study. This is just, you just have to say.
Yeah, well, for Dr. Mitchell's class, we're still required to fill it out.
Yes, no, I can talk to Dr. Mitchell. You have to write, due to the coronavirus, we received credit for a talk which did not include an experimental design. Yes, that's what you just write that, and you can CC me on the email if you're emailing Dr. Mitchell, or I can email him directly. No worries about that. It's just we had to make this work because of the situation. We all have to be a little bit flexible. So no need to fill out a form. You will get the credits. You know, at the end of the talk, I will need your SONA ID. You will get the credits. No need to fill out the form for this particular talk. Now, if you do an online study, and the online study actually have like questions and answers, then yes, then you can talk about a correlational study and talk about how that works. But for this particular talk, you know, we were just trying to figure out ways in which we could give students the opportunity to have SONA credits without given that all of the in-person labs are obviously not going to be running experiments. Hope that helps.
All right, thank you. Yeah, if you could email him, that would be amazing.
Yes, please.
I would also just want to encourage you, Shannon. You're not necessarily locked into what the concentration is. The concentrations are awesome, and everything Dr. Botts said is right on. But I had a forensic concentration. That's not necessarily the specialization that I'm going into right now. I'm getting a little bit of that experience, but that's not really my specialty. So I know it feels sometimes like, oh God, I got to pick what I'm going to do for the rest of my life right now. And I hate that feeling, but you're not locked in. There's a lot of opportunity to kind of stretch and grow.
Thank you, Reagan.
No problem.
Yeah. And I'll add this, Reagan. One of the things, once you get into a graduate program, even getting into it, you may not know exactly what you want to do, other than you want to do something in clinical or counseling, which is very broad. There's lots of opportunities within most programs to do what we call practicums, where you're going into these settings and you're getting firsthand experience and working. Like if it's psychiatric rehab that you really like and you want to work in that psychiatric setting or rehab setting, then one of your practicums could be there. And you may discover after working there that you don't like it, and that's not going to be an area of interest for you. But that's fine. So it's kind of like trying things on for size. So throughout the process, whether it's an undergraduate or at the graduate level, you have the opportunity to kind of pick and choose and get some experiences to help you to make better decisions on what you want to do for at least a portion of your life. Sometimes we change midstream and during midlife, but
And I also will add another thing, because a lot of you all seem to be asking, like, what do I do next? What do I do with this? How do I choose this? Something, as you're looking at any program, anywhere, for anything, they'll have their own requirements, and you'll want to look at what those requirements are class-wise and make sure that you've taken those classes. Because, for example, I'm in the clinical program here, the PsyD program, and I have a bachelor's degree in neuroscience, and I just did all of the courses for the psychology portion. So and then I know some people who have had a degree in something and they didn't have a class for a certain program. So you just want to make sure that you do have what you need for a program that you apply to in the future, and that choosing one path, major wise, does not necessarily cut you off of applying for something else.
Thank you, guys.
Sarah, if there are no more questions and I've got a captive audience, I could share my screen and show this brief video if you and the
Absolutely.
student were okay with that.
Yep, absolutely. Go for it.
Okay, let me try. Okay. The host disabled participant screen sharing.
Oh, do I need to give you permission?
You must have to give me permission. I think you all will enjoy the video. It's very short, and I think you'd find it very informative. And I would be interested in Reagan and Stephen's thoughts on it.
Okay, you should be able to do it now. Is that correct or not? Yep.
Okay, can you all see it?
Awesome.
Want you to know. My name is Dr. Heidi Kraft. I'm a clinical psychologist and the clinical director at Psych-Armor Institute. I am a Navy veteran. I spent 9 years on active duty in the Navy and deployed to Iraq in 2004 with a Marine Corps surgical company. I'm very pleased to be here today to introduce a new way of thinking about military culture. America is a country made up of people from countless different cultural backgrounds. Certainly, it's part of what makes us great. For some time now, people have been trying to understand what it means to be culturally competent. The military is a culture, just like any other. Military people, like those from any culture, have certain beliefs, practice certain rituals and traditions, and hold fast to certain ideals that shape who they are as a group of people in order to bridge the gap between non-military Americans and those who wear the uniform of their country. Military cultural competence is an important first step. So what are the most important parts of a culture to understand? Well, we went to the source. We asked our veterans. We asked thousands of American veterans, what is one thing you would want your doctor, nurse, therapist, employer, anyone in your life really, who's trying to understand you, to know about you? This course is based on their top 15 answers. First and foremost, ask a very important question. Did you serve in the military? It matters, and it begins the conversation. You see, in the military, we have our own history and our own language. In fact, if you listen to military people talk, it's truly as if they're speaking a different language. We have very specific traditions, and they are richly written throughout history. They often tell you who we are. For instance, at a ball game, when the national anthem is played, you'll see military people standing at attention, even long after they've left active duty. We take pride in our sacrifices, and sometimes we feel like people who haven't lived our lives can't understand. So asking, did you serve in the military, is a great way to begin a conversation and to engage a veteran. As an active duty Marine said, we are not like you. The veteran and his family are tough, but have the biggest hearts and have gone through huge sacrifices and a broad spectrum of emotions many times. Knowing that, please start the conversation. Ask a person if he or she served. If the answer is yes, let's move on to the 15 things veterans want you to know. Number 1, we are not all soldiers. This is a big one for military people, and if there is one thing to take away from this course, it would be this. While many people, including those in the media, talk about military personnel, they refer to soldiers as a general term. This is not correct. Soldiers are only in the Army. There are 4 other branches in the armed services, and they are very different. They have different missions and even different subcultures. Although we are all part of that same larger team, military people are proud of their specific service branches. Very importantly, you do not need to know specifics about what the Coast Guard does, or what the ranking structure of the Air Force is, or what you call a person in the Navy. You don't need to know why the Marines' mission is different from the Army's. But knowing that these 5 branches are different is the first and important step to military cultural awareness. So this leads us to an important follow-up question. If a person answers yes, he or she served, the next question should be, which branch? Asking this question demonstrates that you know the difference between the 5 branches. I guarantee this earns you instant credibility with that veteran, and it keeps the conversation going, which is the whole point. Number 2, the reserves are part of the military. There are 2 ways to serve in uniform in our country. One is active duty, in which case your full-time job is putting on the uniform and fulfilling your role in the armed forces every day. The other way is the reserves. These are people who train and stay ready to be called up if they're needed. Members of the reserves, who are seen in every branch, train together 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. When not in uniform, they go back to their civilian jobs in their communities. They will be called to help when our country needs them, either to augment a national defense-related mission, or, sometimes in the case of the National Guard, to help in domestic, national, or local emergencies where additional support is required. When reservists are mobilized and deployed, they come home from their deployments and go right back to their civilian communities. But often they don't have the same support or resources as an active duty person does when they return. This can cause a significant amount of additional stress on military reservists and their families. Number 3, not everyone in the military is infantry. When we think of the classic generic version of the military person, we definitely think of infantry. This is an image probably fed through our culture from the time we're young. But the truth is, the range of what people do in the military is truly remarkable. We are expertly trained in literally hundreds of jobs, from mechanics, cooks, pilots, and sailors, to divers, administrators, doctors, musicians, to weapons specialists, military police, firefighters, and air traffic controllers. We operate, maintain, and fix all types of weapons, aircraft, sea vessels, vehicles, equipment, and machinery. Knowing this, the third important question to ask after learning a person served and in which branch would be, what did you do during your service? What was your job? This shows that you know there are many different things a military person could have been trained to do. It's an acknowledgement or a validation of that person's training and skills and how hard he or she has worked to be an expert at that job. It also demonstrates that you understand each individual job is vital to the overall execution of the military's mission. This will help you to consider the impact of different occupations might have, physically and mentally, in order to be sensitive to that in conversation. As one veteran explains, our bodies are pounded daily. By the time I hit retirement age, I will have lost several inches off my height due to daily stress. Number 4, we have leaders at every level in the chain of command. Almost immediately out of basic or officer training, military people are responsible for those that work for and with them. And there's a sense of real leadership that's engendered, taught, and truly embraced all the way down to the lowest level of the chain of command and all the way up to the highest. Leadership is a very important factor in military service. Those who wear the uniform feel responsible for others and accountable to others. And this is a large part of the pride we take in our service. Number 5, we are always on duty. In the military, there are no days off, even when a person is on leave. We can be called back at a moment's notice if the unit is getting ready to deploy, or in the case of an unexpected mission demand. So even when we're on vacation, we're not really on vacation. Here's a quote from a Coast Guardsman. I am always on call. I can never plan a vacation because an operation can come up at the last minute. Work schedules are pretty tough at times. Number 6, we take pride in our appearance and in our conduct. Military people take appearance, conduct, and physical fitness very seriously. Even out of uniform, we are held to a standard with regard to how we look. Physical fitness matters in a real way. We need to train so that when we're called, we're ready to accomplish that mission. Likewise, we're responsible for maintaining a standard of conduct. In fact, active duty people are held to an actual code of military justice. It's a set of rules that governs military people, and we can be charged with crimes based on these rules and held accountable in court. Some people have perceptions about military people that maybe they're rigid based on the way they look. In fact, we like to think of ourselves not as rigid, but as proud. Simply stated, this is just the way we've been brought up, and we believe that these standards have a purpose. Number 7, we did not all kill someone, and those who have do not want to talk about it. This one doesn't need a lot of commentary. Unfortunately, this is a question that gets asked of our military veterans far too often. I realize people are just curious, but I hope this course will educate you to realize that this is not a question any military veteran wants to be asked, whether he or she has lived through this or hasn't. It's not a question that should be asked of military veterans. Please don't ask us that, ever. Number 8, we do not all have PTSD. There's a general perception that anyone who deployed to combat develops PTSD, and that's just not true. A vast majority of veterans, including combat veterans, do not go on to develop post-traumatic stress disorder. Some people might have symptoms in the acute aftermath of any kind of trauma, but then experience a natural recovery process. This is also true for combat. While combat can certainly be very traumatic, it can also lead to great moments of reward and friendship and love. Number 9, those of us who do have an invisible wound are not dangerous, and we are not violent. Invisible wounds of war, including post-traumatic stress disorder, traumatic brain injury, depression, and substance use disorder, are not obvious to someone looking at a veteran, but they are real injuries, causing real suffering, and they deserve the same respect and treatment as physical injuries. The media has created a bias that insinuates those with PTSD might be violent. This is not true. Those of us with invisible wounds of war may be injured, but we are not violent. Number 10, it is really hard for us to ask for help. The military culture is based in service, sacrifice, and helping, or even rescuing others. It is others-based, and historically has not valued self-care or help-seeking behaviors. There's an expectation of mission accomplishment, even at personal cost. Because of this long-standing cultural bias, reaching out for help for ourselves is difficult for military people. Some veterans view asking for help as a sign of weakness. It also takes a great level of trust for a veteran to allow him or herself to be vulnerable. Please have patience and don't give up on us. Number 11, our military service changes us. That change is permanent, and that's okay. We wouldn't expect anything else. Like I said, it's a culture with its own traditions, rituals, language, standards, expectations, stigma, wonderful moments, and horrible moments. It's unreasonable to think that a person will go through those experiences and be unchanged. Number 12, we differ in how much we identify with the military after we leave active duty. As in any culture, some people find themselves truly defined by their service and their association with the military. Others consider it part of their past and move on from it. If I'm getting to know a veteran, I like to ask these questions. How has your military service shaped you? How does it factor into how you define yourself now? Again, there's instant credibility in those questions, as it gives us a chance to see that you understand. We are all different, both while we serve and after we serve. Number 13, our families serve with us. Military families have some of the most challenging jobs in the world. They're subject to frequent separation from their loved ones and moving from place to place, sometimes every 2 or 3 years. It's difficult to establish schools for the kids or jobs for the spouses. Then the service member comes back from deployment and wants to take back some of those responsibilities that he or she used to have. And the spouse feels like, I've really got this process down. I know what I'm doing now. All of this requires flexibility, bravery, strength, and resilience. Anyone who knows a military family knows that all those words define us. Number 14, we would die for each other and we would die for our country. We would, and we do. It doesn't matter where we fight, the geographical location, or the technologic or political backdrop. It doesn't matter what the mission is or who's in charge of the country. Why we fight has always been the same. From the very beginning, it's about the people to our left and our right, and any military person will tell you that. The people with whom we serve become brothers and sisters to us, and we would die for them. We do, and we would not change that culture of sacrifice for the world. Number 15, we've all made this sacrifice for one reason, to serve something more important than ourselves. When it comes down to it, this defines our culture. People who choose to serve in uniform and who sign on that line, saying they will make that sacrifice, they live by a certain code. And we like to say it's honor and commitment and duty. Most of all, though, these are people who make a choice. We've all chosen to serve something larger than ourselves, more important than ourselves. That's a unique and special piece of military culture that runs through everything and everyone who's part of it. We are choosing the concept of service. In summary, asking the right questions gives you credibility and brings you closer to the veterans in your lives. It opens the door for a better understanding of our experiences and our military culture. When you meet someone you think might be a veteran, ask, did you serve in the military? Which branch? What job did you do in the military? The military is a complicated culture, and you do not have to know a lot of details about the military in order to show some military cultural awareness to bridge that gap between yourself and the veterans in your life. We hope this course has taught you a few important things that veterans want you to know. We're not all soldiers. The reserves are a vital part of the military. Not everyone in the military is infantry. There are hundreds of specific jobs people perform. Leadership is very important, and veterans have a heightened sense of responsibility for and to others. We are always on duty. We take pride in our appearance and our conduct. We did not all kill someone, and those who have do not want to talk about it. We do not all have PTSD. Those of us who do have an invisible wound are not dangerous and not violent. It's really hard for us to ask for help. We're used to putting others and the mission before ourselves. Our military service changed us. That change is permanent, and that's okay. We all differ in how much we identify with the military after we leave active duty. Our families served with us. Military families have some of the most challenging jobs in the world. We would die for each other and for our country. We've all made this sacrifice for one reason: to serve something more important than ourselves. Thank you so much for taking the time to take this course. I hope that this was helpful in better understanding military culture and our nation's veterans. On behalf of them all, thank you.
If you have any questions or need assistance, go to the PsychArmor website.
So that's that psycharmor.org. I hope, because all of us, whatever we do in life, are going to either we have veterans in our family, we're going to, in our circle of friends, whatever jobs we do. So I hope that you all enjoyed that and came away with learning a little bit more, having a better understanding of military, of our veterans and military culture. Does anybody have any questions or comments or?
I think that was an amazing video, and I'm really, really glad that you got to share it with us.
Well, thanks, Ashley. And you can, like I said, that psycharmor.org, they're all free. So, if any of you are more interested, and they actually break it down into, those who work in higher ed and healthcare are just interested. I watched one of the videos that I forget the name of it, but was more kind of like Military 101 and demonstrated what sort of the training was like and the changes. And, I learned a lot because I've been out of uniform for many years. So it's a really good resource.
Great, thank you so much. So I'm glad that that you were able to share that too, and that the screen sharing worked and all that. So I believe that's like all the time we have for today, right? Now I need you, all of you who want to get Sonar credits, I need you to go into the chat. So if you go right below there is a chat. You can also do Alt and the letter H to check the chat. And then I just want you to type, the Sonar ID is important. That is like the 6-digit Sonar ID, and your name already appears. If you are logging in with an iPhone or something that is just your name, doesn't matter, because I just need the Sonar ID. I can just give you the credit with the Sonar ID. Well, thank you so much for to our speakers today. I really appreciate you taking the time to tell us all about the exciting things going on at EKU. I appreciate the students who ask those really great questions. Also, all of this has been recorded, so we will be posting it in the psychology department has a YouTube channel, is EKU Psychology, and we will be posting the recording there. So if anyone, is there something you want to go back to, or if you have a friend who couldn't make it and you think it will benefit from hearing the explanations of the different things we were talking about here, that would be posted there for everyone, available to everyone. So thank you so much. As I said, post your Sonar ID and have a great day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Say, I'm going to start anew. I ain't gonna take my hand and do something. I don't want to leave them without you.
Well, so I can be an idiot.
You won't be an idiot. baby steps. We're not going to